Here.
Here.
Leslie?
Here.
Melinda?
Present.
I wasn't skipping over you.
You say the best.
And myself. Well, I'm the best, but I was kind of going by seniority. Okay, first of all, we'll go over the minutes of the July meeting. I know we got things in advance, and I found out why our packet is thick here, because I didn't get back to Bruce, but he left me a voice message, so I was wondering why it was so thick, but he said he was gonna have something. But anyway, that's not the minutes. Does anyone have any questions or corrections? The minutes are pretty short these days. And if nobody has anything, I'll ask for a motion to approve those.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the July meeting.
Second.
Great. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of our July meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those pass. So now on to the financial reports for July. And I think I saw something that Joyce catches because she has a better eye for those things. And I'll admit I do, but that's why it's good to have different eyes on things.
Okay, yeah, I sent this to, is it Malaya? Like Malia? Okay, I was looking at for public housing, for professional services. On last month's paperwork, it said last year's budget was $1,400. This year it says $147,000.
Right. So this year with us transitioning to public housing, we're looking at the turnover cost for contractors and maybe having more units that become available before the sale. We're also looking at what it will cost us for the moving stipend for clients that are moving out of those units, and security deposits. So we allocated a large amount of money to cover those costs, which, based off the amount of work that needs to be done per unit, could be lower, considerably lower, but it's going to be variable. So that's how we accounted for that.
How did you come up with the calculation?
Well, we look at the number of units that we have, number of 2-bedroom units, number of 3-bedroom units, the size of the family. We look at what security deposit might be for a household that's going to be relocating out into this fluctuating market. There have been several conversations with the housing coordinators, Bruce and myself, to come up with those dollar amounts. So while it is considerably large, some of those vacant units have been vacant for a while. We've got toilets missing, stands missing, holes in floors. And as it stands right now, it's really difficult. Contractor prices are through the roof, to say the least. It's hard to get
Don't
contractors.
say through the roof, that may put another charge.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, extremely high, extremely
New
high
roof
cost.
installed.
So, so we try to account for that as well. And so, yeah, so all those factors were taken into account when we came up with this dollar amount.
Let me ask, I think this might be a better question for Bruce, since you weren't here yet. Negotiation prices with the agencies that took over. Why are we paying to fix up something before they buy them? We as the city.
Right. Good, complicated question. Some of it, I'll give you, 4 or 5 reasons, I guess. For starters, they are affordable housing nonprofits, and so not that we're the only agency that they come for with CDBG and home requests and those sorts of things to acquire and fix up units, but that that does happen from time to time. So quite honestly, if we discount the price here, then that allows some of our other funding sources maybe to go further as well. And that going into the negotiation was always one thing that was on our minds. But I think in addition, factors, the biggest thing staff has found as we're looking at this, and I probably bored you with this before, it's down in the weeds a bit, but we have folks who live in public housing now, and there's a mismatch between the size of voucher that they're getting. And so we have a number, like I'll take for example, we have a number of 3 bedrooms, and quite a few of our 3-bedroom public housing tenants are getting 2-bedroom vouchers. So they can't stay in the unit they're in, even though the buyer would be fine with them doing that. The nonprofit would be fine. And you might ask, well, then why were they 3-bedroom, 4? Well, one, they are different programs. Public housing and Section 8 housing choice vouchers are treated a little bit differently. But also, we're a small PHA, so we have only a few number of public housing units. So if somebody came into the program in a 3-bedroom and qualified for it, and then their household size changed, and now they would really only qualify for a 2-bedroom, but if you don't have an available 2-bedroom for them to move to, they get to stay in the 3-bedroom. They should stay in the 3-bedroom, and they're not going to, HUD doesn't want us to displace people just because you no longer fit that program. And the program isn't flexible like Section 8 vouchers are, where you can move around to other units. So you had to be in a public housing unit, and we only have 42 of them. So we had a limited number of 2s for them to go to, and so that's how we get where we got. So as a result of that mismatch between the current unit they're in and their voucher size that they now have, we're anticipating that fixing up some of the units as people move out will allow folks to sort of, it's hard for us to lease up when people come off the wait list because they can't find a unit that meets the payment standards. So having more units available for people to move into. So selfishly, it's not just fixing up the unit for the new buyer who's, who you might say, well, gosh, then they're just benefiting from us fixing it up. Quite honestly, it helps be able to get people housed in our community, and it's just the right thing to do, So we are planning to use some of the money for that. We put that in our application a couple of years ago when we went into HUD, so everybody knew going in that we would do some of that. So that's another reason why we're fixing those up, and how the negotiations came out the way they did. But we can go on, but that gives you a flavor of, here's another weird one. The process gets infinitely more complex if there were other federal funding sources involved with fixing up the units when the nonprofits take them over. And so we wanted to be able to use public housing money to get the units, as many units as we could, fixed up, rather than having to use other federal funding sources to help them after the fact. And so they might still need to do that down the line a bit, and I think some of them are planning that with like LIHTC units. So we have one nonprofit buyer who's applying right now for low-income housing tax credit funding from the state, and they may get it, they may not, but that is okay. That doesn't trigger some of those things. But anyway, it's just infinitely complex, and so we were just like, let's fix up as many of them as we can. Some of them we won't. Some of them we will likely leave in a state of you'd have to do some work before someone moved in. But we're anticipating a good share of them will have a little bit of rehab work. Probably talking anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 worth of work at most, or in that range. So it's not a huge, and we budgeted for it with the proceeds from the sale. So HUD approved that in our budget.
Hopefully not through the roof.
Not through the
Hopefully
roof. Yeah.
Poor choice of words, but.
Just,
Sorry.
just teasing.
I hope that answered your question.
On that one, yeah, because in other words, you'd rather budget it too high instead of not having it high enough and run into problems, and
That's
where we
correct.
come up with the money.
And I'm sorry, if I might just add to, and we knew we might tag team on some of these because some of these go back a ways too. The professional services, I think, as Malia was starting to mention there, includes not only the moving costs, payment, the rehab costs, security deposit assistance for folks. We sort of put all of the things that might be needed in the course of this transition to get to sale in that one line item. And I mentioned, I think last time, facilities maintenance staff is busy with some other internal stuff. And so we're going to be paying contractors rather than in-house, as much in-house transfer for facilities maintenance. So that comes out of that too. We're probably, if we have substantial work between now and then that just a tenant needs help with, before it would come out of a different line item, now it's going to come out of that line item for the next
Bruce,
few
do
months.
you bid out for that? I know our
Yeah,
46th Street folks, that's all in-house, but
yeah. Yep, what we're finding is, we used to do it, well, again, I give just a wealth of probably useless info for you, but we used to do a blanket bid in years past for, we'd hire a contractor who would, for the next couple of years, do rehab work as needed, and we had a pricing sheet so that we knew, and we wouldn't have to quote unquote bid every single unit turnover, or every single fix that we needed that our in-house staff couldn't do because of other responsibilities. I mean, they could do a lot, but we just had a division of who does what. Well, we don't have anybody. We've been having challenges getting people to even respond, and so clearing it through our internal channels now. We're probably going to bid out not bid, but RFP out or get quotes on virtually everything we do from here on out, just to get somebody in. I mean, we might have 2 or 3 folks that can do the work, and depending on if so-and-so's doing these 2 units, then maybe we'll check in with this person and see maybe they're freer and we can get them to start this week too, so that we don't have to wait, because time is of the essence right now when people are looking for housing. So yeah, long story short, we are going out competitively for all of it. So if you know anybody, please tell us.
Yes.
Let them know that we're going to be calling them, because we need some help from contractors. So
back when I was new to this, and I didn't realize that even Public Works, because somebody asked a question about every line item, showing that anytime they went down to Heritage and changed a light bulb, we were charged for that.
Oh,
The
yeah, I
commission was
remember,
charged. You
yeah,
remember?
yeah.
We learned, or it was new to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just kind of figured, but I guess it's an accounting thing, so.
one way or another, it's either contractor or facility. So now it's both the
Okay. Well, thanks for the,
So who do they contact? The contractors, like if,
They would need to contact me. I'm just talking and giving them the scope of the work that needs to be completed, and then scheduling a time for our housing quality inspector or or housing coordinator or both to go out there so that we can identify what needs to be done. And it's like Bruce said, we're not there to rehab everything. We're there to make sure it's decent, it's safe, it's habitable. People can live there, and when they go out there, they look at the scope of the work, and then they come back with a bid that details the work and what they'll charge by line item. I review it with Bruce for a certain dollar amount to see if it's reasonable and to see if they can get in and how soon they can get in and how long it will take them to perform the work, and then we make a decision and contact them.
do you have and you might have said this, so I apologize in advance. Do you have a scope of the amount of units, possibly,
Right now, we have 5 available units
that needs the work?
that need cleaning, right?
Cleaning,
And there are
okay.
some rehab, as I mentioned earlier, there's a unit with part of the floor is missing, and a toilet, but we have a toilet there that just needs to be installed.
Okay.
And so we would just have them come out, look, give us an estimate as to what they think it would cost, and then how soon they could get out there and draw it all up in a report. We would review it, and then we would contact them, either way.
So you said roughly about 5 or
5 right now. And as units become available, we evaluate them to determine if they just need cleaning, or if they need rehab, or if we're just going to leave it alone.
Okay.
We're guessing, and this is mere guesswork, but we're guessing, what, 10 to 15 of the total number of units may be able to remain in place. Could be higher, but if you do the math, then that means there could be 25 or so that end up getting touched in some way, either cleaning only or, you know, a little bit more work here and there.
Some minor rehab, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have not had much success. I've contacted purchasing, and they've given us a list of vendors, and I've been cold calling people, and it's been a struggle. Just it's staffing all around for contractors, so it's been an issue. So I'm open to anyone that be willing, available to do the work.
I've heard that just from friends who, they said that derecho really got everybody really busy from, that's what, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years. Contractors just being busy, and then kind of the layoff during COVID. So everybody's catching up, I guess.
So would you prefer, like, you send, like if I know some contractors, would you prefer just for me to give them your number, or would you prefer to send me something and I send it to them, or?
If you give them my number, then I
Okay.
can contact them, because there are a couple other steps, like they have to have a certificate of insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, so yeah, I can talk through that process with them,
Okay.
yeah, and then we can talk about
And
it.
then tell them exactly what it is. Okay.
When we had the utility service and then the office supplies and services, those both went way down. I figure those are just because we are kind of getting out of public housing then, you don't need that many of them.
Yes, yep. We're just transitioning out, and so have reduced the cost from last year, because we expect to have these units sold by mid-November.
In section 8, what is port in rent? Or was it?
So I saw, yeah, thank you for emailing, by the way, because it does help us check with our finance people
Don't
too.
blindside you.
And get you a better answer anyway. So port in rent is just what folks who are porting into our jurisdiction, it's a revenue line item that accounting tracks. Similar, there's when people port out, there's things like when we bill or when we absorb, and so there are just different line items for how they account for it. The key thing probably, and I noted at least from your email, was, all right, so it was 50 last year, 50,000, and then this year it had been projected to be 0. Talking a little bit with our finance staff, several of the, that number in particular, they're like, I think it just needed to be plugged in yet. They're in the midst of still rolling over numbers from the end of the fiscal year. So, I think they're thinking it actually should be more like 30,000. They looked at the last 2 years when I was in the office with them here this morning, and they're like, yeah, we've not spent 50, so it should actually be a lower number than 50, but they're still in the midst of kind of rolling that over, and so that's partially why you're seeing some difference in numbers. So
It doesn't sound like a very correct answer for number people in finance.
Correct.
Rolling over.
I know. And part of the challenge, Dave, and this is something I know I couldn't do.
Where are
but
the zeros and where's the commas and where are the?
They have, they wait to almost throughout the year, and I forget now if it's 2 or 3 times, they do true ups, which is essentially, you know, you might start the year with some sort of a budget. You may not, but if you do start it with a budget, you often find that by fall you're revising some things because something wasn't right, or somebody's dinging the wrong account, and so because we have so many different inputs into these systems, right? And then you do that again, a budget amendment process again later in the year, and then you true it up, and that's what's kind of going on right now, or you audit it at the end. So for those of you that work with numbers, I'm probably explaining this all wrong, but it makes you start to think, gosh, it depends on the time of year when you're asking the question on what the numbers are going to be, right? Because it could be all over the map. But anyway, so if you're keeping score, poured in rents, likely it's about 30,000 for this current year. Once we populate the budget figures for this current fiscal year, which is we're a little over a month into. That next line item, I'm just anticipating, Joyce, so stop me if you don't want to talk about any of these, but that 218,000 line item, that was the one-time CARES Act Section 8 landlord assistance money. You had to spend it by the end of December, which we were able to spend a good share of it, but that's why it's zero now. It's because it was just one time. We're sending some of it back because we couldn't get it all spent, which is just part and parcel. That happens sometimes. But at least we could put some of it to use. So that's why that's a zero in the current year. That 10 to 15, which isn't huge, but that's, you see the poured out admin. They looked at last year activity, and the last, I think it was 2 years ago, it was around 14,000. Last year it was maybe 13. So they increased it to 15 instead of, because they figured we were kind of overspending the last couple of years in that line item. The last one is, I'm not sure, that one might end up being a typo. That might, because Section 8 shouldn't have property insurance, so I'm not sure. Malia and I'll kind of work with them a little bit on that. They may need to revise the budget going forward and just plug in a zero there, because the only thing we could think of is that we maybe had to pay insurance at the Heritage, maybe. And now that the office is at City Hall, charging Section 8 program for a portion of City Hall's property insurance. I'm not sure how we would separate that out or prorate that, So it was easier at the Heritage probably to do it because we own the whole building and it's all project-based Section 8, but I don't know. So they're going to double check that a bit, but anyway, that wasn't a huge discrepancy in dollars, but you can see that one may be in flux as well. So anyway, that's the confusing.
I hope you're insured down here. I had to walk in under
Yes. Well, I'm sure we are. Just don't know if Section 8 is
Didn't
paying
want
for
any,
any of it, but yeah.
1,800 brick fall, 18, whatever year this is. Joyce, did that cover?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So if someone doesn't have any questions, I'll ask you or someone to move to approve those, that report.
With the corrections.
Yes, noting. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the financial.
Second.
Great. It's been moved and seconded to approve the financial report for July with the corrections. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now we can go on to the occupancy report. Are those ones, I think we talked about this, but they're all being transitioned.
Public housing, yes. So we do have some public housing families that do qualify to stay within those units. I think it's 7 of them. But the units that are vacant are still vacant. These units have been vacant. These are the units that we're wanting to get cleaned and potentially rehab, small rehab.
Have the agencies that are taking things over been good to work with? I know you kind of came in, you're
Yeah.
still getting your feet wet versus a veteran.
Yeah, they've been great to work with. Jump in maybe a little ahead, but it gives you a sense of status report for public housing transition. The Habitat is in the midst of transitioning executive directors as well, so I had a good conversation with them. I think the new person is coming on and going to have work with Christy a bit for the last 2 or 3 months of before her retirement, and which should work out because we're anticipating doing probably several closings with Habitat, so we may be able to kind of bring the new person along a little bit there in September and October. We'll probably close first with them, at least on one property. They're okay with closing and taking ownership one-offs if we need. So Habitat's buying 4 single families from us. They might, if one comes open here at the end of, let's say, August, then we might close in September on that one house. And then maybe if 2 others come vacant, then we'll close maybe one closing on those 2 houses next or whatever. So they're good with that. The other 2 agencies want to close all together on them. And so those we're anticipating will be later, but I'll brief you guys as we get closer to that. There's, I mentioned the LIHTC credits, that complicates ownership timeline and everything else. So but they've all been great to work with. They're communicative. EHTG has some vacant units, both like outside of the units they're buying from us. They have some vacant units, and so they've been coordinating with our staff on letting folks know who have to move that, hey, here's a 2-bedroom, if you're looking for one. Here's a 1-bedroom if you need one, So that's been great.
Their prices are well below fair market rate.
Yeah.
So it's been helpful for our clients that are looking to stay in some of those units that they are taking over. So I've had pretty good experience with them. I've talked to Bob a few times. He's asked quite a few questions about the utility allowance and the amenities and those types of things as he works through this process. So
Good.
in just a short period of time, I've worked with them.
Oh, you're moving the mic. I thought you were getting ready to say or ask something. Okay, if nobody has any questions on that, I'll ask for acceptance of that occupancy and utilization report.
I make a motion to accept the occupancy report for the month of July.
Second.
Great. Been moved and seconded to approve the occupancy report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, say the same thing. So thank you. Now we're on to these resolutions, the thick part of the packet.
We may tag team on this too, but I'll give you the long voicemail I left for Chairperson Wissing, and I talked a little bit with Commissioner Roberts as well. So it's been 5 years since we opened up the Housing Choice Voucher wait list. We are getting down to the last few folks on the list, so it's time to open it again. In doing that, over the last several years, staff has brought to the management team several thoughts and ideas, and we've researched a little bit and talked with some other PHAs. And the biggest sea change we see coming in this is, I'll give you the counter example. When we opened it in 2017, it was open for basically the whole month of July. And we got so many applicants that it took us 5 years to get to serve everybody on that list. And as you can imagine, when you get out to, we're calling people who signed up 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, they've found other support in some cases. And for those that did find other support and are no longer interested, we have to still hold, and there's a waiting period for that. So it slows things down for people who still do need it. So what we found, which seems counterintuitive, but what we found from some other PHAs is you're better off opening up for shorter windows and getting fewer people on your list so that you can work through those who are in need and then reopen it again. so that some communities, and we're not probably going to do this, but some communities are able to churn through them in a week or a month. Maybe ours will be 3 months or 6 months, but we definitely want to avoid having a list that takes us 5 years to get through. And so that could cause, so that's what's in front of you is a resolution authorizing us to open up the wait list on September 20th and 21st from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're proposing to do it down at the river's edge because there's some space there with some tables so that people can, it's hard copy only, so you pick up your application. Shouldn't take too long to fill out.
Do they have to rent skates?
They don't, no. They could. But yeah, that we're thinking, and then we have to timestamp them
Lot of
so that we
parking
know
down
which
there,
order
too.
they're in, so.
Parking's good.
We're gonna have a number of staff there to answer questions. We're gonna have a zero tolerance policy on completed apps, because last time we're told it was several weeks and we never did get complete information from some folks because they turned in an app and maybe the contact info wasn't there or it was out of date and already. So we've kind of been doing a lot of thinking through it. Malia has some experience in working with Salvation and Humility. We've got some guidance from them. We'll see. We're going to do a big marketing push if you all prove it.
Well,
That is.
that's what I want to, that's my next question.
Okay.
How are we going to get the word out other than those technical little things in the paper that
Right.
nobody reads except for me?
So we have good connections with our community partners in the healthcare field, our social service agencies, like Bruce mentioned, with Community Homes and Services, the Salvation Army, Family Resources. They're
Good.
really just anticipating and waiting on the approval from you, Commission, to, for this information. I will be speaking to the housing cluster on September the 8th. That's all of our partners.
Right.
Both sides of the river. I'll be attending a landlord event in Moline. So we'll be reaching out to other partners, some partners that are not part of the housing cluster, advertising at the community health center, the bus stations, the churches, the local grocery stores that will allow all the, again, we want few barriers as possible, right? We want as many people to have access to this information throughout the city, you know.
Are we
and so-
doing any social media,
Yeah.
like Facebook,
Yep,
Twitter,
yep.
Instagram,
We found that to be
TikTok?
with some of our other programs in like just the last couple of years we've advertised. It's almost like I don't know what the percentage is. It's I think super high percentages compared to our other advertising means. So yeah, that people respond to that. People see it. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to
Good.
be.
I'm glad
Because
you're
I
being
remember that
proactive.
last time.
Yeah, right. Last time we probably didn't do a
No,
big
you didn't.
social at all. Well,
Well, you still had a great turnout, though, so.
well, and we did, right? Yeah, and one more thing, and it's more down the weeds, but just in case you all get questions on it too, or have questions on it, we'll be fleshing out, and we were just talking today over a couple of details. So it's going to evolve here, pending approval if you guys are good with it. But we need to spend the next week or so also figuring out what happens with accommodations. So it's great to do it in person. I think that satisfies for the aforementioned reasons the way we want to do it. But if we do have somebody who isn't able to get down there on those 2 days, we're going to talk through the logistics of that. I think what it's going to involve is us getting out as a staff to, if they have an email, we can email it to them. They can email it back in that two-day window. If we need to drop off one at their house and help them fill it out and bring it back to us,
I
so
was
it's
going to
within the
say,
2-day
not
window.
everybody sits in an air-conditioned office
Right.
upstairs
Right.
and has high-speed internet.
Exactly.
A lot of people on the street.
There might be some challenges with it compared to the way we've done it in the past with mailing it back in, because with the HUD timetable on the order in which you receive them, and in this case, having a much smaller window to receive it, I don't think you can trust the mail to
Absolutely.
get it back in on time. So that won't be one of the ways in which you can do it. But from what legally we understand, it's still okay that we have a 2-day window. We just need to think creatively for those who need some help with that. So we're going to have that in our frequently asked questions on the front end so that we can kind of help. If you need some extra help in that 2-day, being in there in person is going to be difficult, call us, email us, let us know how we might be able to work through a plan on that. I'm confident we can find a way for everybody. We just need to be proactive in letting people know. And then, like Salvation Army was talking with today, this new plan of opening it up more frequently should help with that, because in the past, oh gosh, I missed my opportunity. I got to wait how long? I got to wait 3 years? I got to wait 5 years? In this case, our plan is we'll be able to say, we'll probably get through it in the next few months. We'll probably be opening up again. So don't worry. I mean, if you're not able to make it this time for one reason, you're going to be out of town and you got nobody who's able to come down and work on this, and we'll send it out to you, and you can't have a neighbor person walk it down or something. Try that first, but if you can't, we're going to be opening this up again, So we got to finalize that, and so you guys know we're working on it. I don't have all the answers to them today, but we'll have our kind of protocol and scripting that we can help.
Can some of those other agencies be down there that might be a better fit, instead of saying, oh, we'll get your name, but maybe Humility would have, say it's a single parent, or say they have some mental health issues, and say, Vera French might be better for that. Or maybe they need food assistance. Can somebody from DHS be there? I mean,
For the
why send people all over? Why can't we have a one-stop shop?
For the application?
Well, when they're in, these are people in need.
Right, but isn't this just
I
going to
know,
fill out?
but if they're down there doing that,
To your point, maybe to help, and my only concern a little bit is we could get still a lot of folks there all at once, and so the chaos, I'd like to kind of keep the mission focused on the application. However, I think to your point, Chair, our outreach to our nonprofit partners in advance, we'll have some frequently asked questions. We're going to have a referral sheet that we hand out for folks that will address. It's about 4 or 5 pages long, and it does have food bank information, it has clothing information, it has shelter information, it has
okay,
lots of
that's
things
good.
on
I
it.
just don't like people to
Right.
come and get frustrated, and
Yep.
they have some immediate needs, and
I totally get
that
you.
might better be filled in by somebody other than
And what usually happens with us staff, I mean, we're pretty good about when you're talking with somebody, hey, this is our mission today. It might be housing choice voucher, and we're working through that. But inevitably, some of those issues bubble up, and they'll bring those things up. Our staff can help point them in the right direction, which we always do. And the last thing I would say too that might help you sleep a little bit better at night too is I think last time we did this, and I'm sure it'll happen this time too, we anticipate folks like Humility probably getting carloads of folks to bring down because they know there's need and they might have trouble getting there. And let's face it too, not everybody who's applying for Section 8 is currently homeless. They may be living with a family member, right? They may be, and so there's lots of ways that we want to make sure, as Malia mentioned, all the different methods to try to get word out. So it's not gonna be, I'm right with you, it's not gonna maybe be the panacea that solves everybody's needs all in one stop. But the fact that we're gonna be doing this more frequently, we might get this process down such that we could do a bit more of kind of some informational booths in different locations in the coming times we do this too. So not a bad thought.
I don't think that's a bad
if you
idea
could
at
bring
all.
some flyers or something over to St. Anthony Church, just because I volunteer there when I have a little free time. And I
Oh,
see
absolutely.
a
Yep.
lot of need.
Yep, I'll be walking around,
Okay.
especially the downtown area, and making those connections once we get their approval. And I'm already working with Jerry to get
Oh,
the
and,
flyers out.
That nice woman at the library, she's the social worker that, she's wonderful. Just because there's so much need out there.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't like people having to go through more hoops than they need to.
Yep.
It's already frustrating for a lot of people, so. There's my opinion.
This is one question I had. It's going to be between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. What happens at 4 p.m. and you still have a lot of people there that you haven't had a chance to talk to? You just will take care of them, but close the door, don't let anybody else in?
That would be
But-
my anticipated, is like the doors close at 4, and then everyone that's there, we make sure that if they need assistance filling out the application, if they have questions, that there's a staff member there to assist them.
And there's another day, that the challenge I know could be day 2, somebody comes in at 3:55, gets the form, and then realizes, oh gosh, I need a signature from somebody else, and now I'm not going to be able to get back in time. And we talked through that a little bit. That is the danger with doing this approach, but the fact that we're going to be able to open it up again soon in the future, all right, now for the next time, we'll just see. There isn't a perfect way to do it. This will have a little bit of pushback because it's not as easy, and it's not as long, and so you have to be a bit more strategic with this approach, and so we'll probably get some, gosh, you shouldn't have done it that way approaches. I know we will, but we're hopeful that the fact that we can serve more folks in need and cycle through and get a new list of folks who are in need 2, 3, 4, or 6 months from now, I think is going to make it worth, and eventually people will figure out that process and catch on to, okay, I can't show up at 5 minutes before, but we'll
So,
see.
I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be approved. So after it's approved, what is your timeline as far as getting it out to the public? Because this is September 20th, 21st, that this is going to happen, and it's already the 15th.
So my plan is, I talked to Jerry today, and I told her that I'd like to have this information by Monday for the flyer. She said she knew it was coming up for board approval. She said, if everything's approved, provide me with your content, and I will be able to work on it. The gentleman that'll be back in the office that will work on it Thursday or Friday, so I should have a draft by Monday. If the draft is approved, does it go through the commission again? Or?
No,
Okay.
I mean, you guys could if you chose
Who
to.
does
but
it have to be approved by?
Well, just to make sure that we're, the language is non-discriminatory, that we're addressing all accommodations, all the information, what people need to provide is available. I wanted to go through as many hands as it can so that we can make sure we cover all bases before we put that information out to the public. My hope is by next Friday, this information is out there, and that, myself or the housing coordinators are going to these health centers or health care centers and these laundromats, the shelters, the churches, the grocery stores and whatnot, and handing out this information.
Is it going to be in the newspaper?
Yeah. So our communications team, Malia's better at this than I am, so I'll fumble through this probably, but basically when they want to roll out something, they do some things like in a day or two's notice,
Okay.
so we got plenty of time to get out there, but you guys are raising good points, which is working with our nonprofit partners and everybody. There's a lot of folks to physically touch that we're glad we have this full month to do it. But yeah, we'll be busy. We're going to be busy racing around trying to get word
So
out.
to be before September 1st, you think?
I think the
Oh.
first big push will be, yeah.
Yes.
There'll be multiple pushes through the period, so. Because
Okay.
some of it you don't, what communications team tells me you don't want to do
It too early.
too far out
Yeah.
because then you forget about it, but, so there's a strategy kind of in place on how you roll it.
Because I think like 5 years ago, I felt for some reason there wasn't enough time as far as getting it out to the public into when it was happening.
Okay,
I think that was one of the issues that I really had an issue with. It was
Okay.
a short turnaround. So that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. And
I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Well, and I'll throw out, and I'm not presaging this by any means, so this sounds probably like, oh gosh, you're not ready. We've got a lot of pieces in place, but worst case scenario, if it turns out that, oh, wow, we have several partners that are like, you just missed this, you just missed this, why, oh man. We could, you all have a meeting before this date, before the September 20th and 21st date, if I remember right. And so as a result, we could have you, if we need to push it to October, we could punt it for a month too and bring it to you next month and say, you know what? We didn't have enough time to pull everything in. We thought we did, thought we had everything going well. I'm knocking on wood. I don't think that's going to happen, but
Right.
if it did, and then on top of it, as we're mentioning, the fact that we're going to be doing this a bit more with frequency, we'll be able to hone in on this too. So if we find that we could even do a better job than we did here in the September offering when we go out in December or when we go out in February or whenever the next time is, we'll learn from it too. So I'm not going to promise it's going to be perfect, but I think we've got, we've already started play testing how this all rolls out. And I think we've got a good handle on it if we can get our heads around public housing transitions too. A lot of things going right now. But,
Not that it needs our approval, but when you do have the flyer completed, can you get sent a copy of it?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, do we probably have to do these resolutions one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I'll move for the resolution. The first one, supporting acceptance of new applications for the Housing Choice Voucher Program on selected dates in September next month, 2022.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Great. Been moved and seconded to approve that first resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next is letter B, resolution supporting fiscal year 2022, section 8, management assessment program. I probably should have just said CMAP, certification. Acronyms do come in handy, except if you don't know what they mean. All those in favor of that one, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That one passes also. So, does anybody else have any questions or? I guess we'll.
I do have,
Oh, go ahead, Yolanda.
I'm sorry, I guess,
No,
or
you're
should I
fine.
ask this one?
Sure.
For that CMAP on page number 1, at the top right-hand corner, and it says expiration 2/29/20, is that changes when you, why is that?
You raise an excellent point, Commissioner. Bruce has had a lot of wrangling with this, and your chairperson is also, Bruce is venting on this as well. So this is the form that they sent me, and they specifically said that you have to use this form. Last month, I spent time getting re-signed and resubmitted on a form that similarly was out of date that they wouldn't accept. And they were prompting me to get it updated. So I'm a little curious as to why they sent this one just a couple weeks ago when it's already, 2 years past date. So I'm not sure exactly, but I think, like we've done before, what my suggestion is this form actually isn't yet completely done. Anyway, Malia and her team have been doing some research on a few last minute things that we need to do before we get it submitted. It's not due till the end of the month. So what we thought would be is we just get the resolution passed. Chairperson Wissing, if you want to, we can maybe even talk through, I think that last page we have completed. We'll check with Malia, but may be able to get you to sign that to save you with another trip coming down here. I've got it dated for today, presuming, I guess you did, you already approved it. And then that would save you a trip. And then what we'll do is especially on pages 1 and 2, there's some additional things that we need to just make sure we've got tracking. We'll complete those, and then we'll send you all a completed copy of what we have. And my point, I guess, getting back to your question, was, I've already got it out there. Is this really the form you wanted us to sign, HUD? And see if I hear back from them. And if it is, then, Chair, we might have to re-sign again. But since they sent it to me, I'm thinking my answer is either going to be silence or they're going to say, yeah, that's fine. So we'll be one step ahead then if we're good to go.
Right, because I don't want to approve anything if this is not the actual form.
Right,
You
right.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the only thing I can say, if it helps you all feel better a little bit with it too, is for the most part, while they keep updating these forms, they're usually relatively small tweaks that they're making. You know, they change the wording of how they ask a question, but they sort of ask the same sorts of general information. So you ask a great question, which we want to make sure we're submitting the most recent one. If this is, we're good. If we need to do something different, I think conceptually what staff is asking is if you're okay with us getting the info on the new form, great. And the main point is we're certifying that we're checking all these factors out as detailed by HUD every year. So it's fairly administratively innocuous, but we want to make sure we get the best score we can. So I think Malia and her team want to see if there's a few more points we can eke out on it this year.
So what is the turnaround process when you reach out to HUD to verify, like, if this is the most recent form, if this is not, what's the turnaround for them to answer?
Honestly, it could be 2 hours, it could be never. I've got 3 questions out to our HUD rep that she still hasn't answered from May. And yet I can email her I emailed her something this morning and she responded immediately. So they honestly don't have all and we have reps that just have to go out to other experts, and sometimes I think they don't want to put anything in writing, and other time. So this is a fairly easy one, so I think she's going to be able to get back with me hopefully by the end of the week and say, yeah, I know it says it's out of date, but that's the form that I need you to do it on. So
First, you deal in one democracy, or in one bureaucracy. They deal in a much bigger one.
yes. So I apologize for I'm not trying to be flip. They just,
I understand. You got to keep people upstairs.
yeah, we just don't want to miss getting it in on time by the end of the month. So we just felt like we'll put this in front of you in a partially completed form, so you know what we're working on. You get the concept. We've done it every year. We have to submit one, so it's not a foreign form, if you will. But we submitted last year, and it was an outdated form, and they accepted it. It was the same form. So I don't know.
Did we meet last year for COVID?
I don't know if you guys did or not.
No.
I mean, we had to submit one last year in August, so who knows?
Yeah, if you could definitely get, I feel more comfortable just at least you reaching out to see if this is the correct form that you're supposed to use. Like I said, as far as approving it, I don't want to approve something that is not what's in front of me.
Right, I understand.
Well, if they would get back to you and they say that, no, you have to fill out another form, you just fill it out and then just have Matt sign it again, basically the same information and.
Right, unless you guys want to have a special meeting to look at the new form.
Yeah, we should.
You probably don't.
No, I mean, I don't. You can just send it. You can just
Yeah,
email.
right. And we'll
I saw
definitely do
something
that.
that needs correcting. Our staffer's last name is not Gerhard anymore on our screen. Can you see yours?
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah.
that just popped in my head.
Okay.
Get a hold of another bureaucrat upstairs to fix it.
So I don't know if I made myself clear. So we're approving this unless there's a substantial change when you find out.
Yep. That's the way I interpreted the
Yeah,
motion,
that's-
so.
I don't know if I made
Okay.
myself clear or not.
Okay, anybody have any other?
And I do one more, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, you're
And
fine.
what you were saying is, you guys are working on something, something regarding this? I thought you said to update yourself or to add more stuff or to, I'm sorry, I might misunderstood.
Yeah, so in your packets is a 3 or 4 page form that
Right,
has questions on it that you can get more or less points on it. And so some of those things are things with staff being really swamped and with Malia being newer. We haven't yet finished, but we have till the end of the month to do. And so was my point, that we're still working on those. So
is that why some of the boxes are not checked?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, like I said, because we're still working on that anyway, my question still is unanswered by HUD on the expiration date on the form. We could be tweaking some things a bit, but I presume they're going to say,
Just use it.
use this form, and we know for sure by the end of the month, we'll have all of the information ready to submit. So with your approval of this general form, I think that's all I need today. And then if something does substantially change, we'll send it out to you and say, hey, if you need to get a special meeting because it's vastly different than what we approved, then that'll be your opportunity to say, okay, yeah, let's quick get together. But I'm fairly confident it won't be much different, so.
Well, I don't have any other questions.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
September 19th is the third Monday, is that correct?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay, well, it looks like we earned our pay today. We went almost an hour. Oh, wait, how much should we get paid? Oh, wait.
It's on a house.
Yes.
Not through the roof.
Okay.
Just
That
on a
was a
house.
good one.
Yes, good.
That was a good one.
You beat me to it. If no other questions, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Commissioner
Thanks.
Roberts, would you like some of my business cards real quick? I can go grab some if you've got some.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Anybody else want any, in case you come into contact with any contractors or any agencies? Oh, let me go grab some real quick. I'll be right back. I'm sorry, I should have brought this down here. I didn't
They
think about
probably
it.
print you like 500, I remember.
I need to, do you know who the city inspector